Louisville is a city desperately in search of a way to heal. A new chief determined to embrace and lead change in a broken police department.
Do you think there's a connection between policing and racism?
Oh, I know there is. I mean, I employ human beings. They come to the table, they develop inherent biases. Data supports that all day long. Now, I think it's important to distinguish that that's not saying police are racist. I think that what happens is we focus on the end result and not the process.
A grieving mother determined not to allow her daughter's death at the hands of police go unpunished.
I want these officers to be charged for her murder, because that's exactly what it was.
As the nation was shutting down from COVID 14 months ago, what happened here in March 2020 stopped Louisville in its tracks. The shooting death of Breonna Taylor, an innocent 26-year-old woman gunned down by police in her own home as they executed a no-knock warrant. It happened after Taylor's boyfriend fired first, thinking they were intruders. The tragedy exposing a festering wound in this city. Today, its police department under a Justice Department investigation focused on whether Louisville Metro Police have engaged in systematic and unlawful behavior.
It will also assess whether LMPD engages in discriminatory conduct on the basis of race.
Under not just the spotlight of Louisville, but the entire nation, Erika Shields was hired to lead Louisville Police in January. Her hiring controversial due to the police-involved shooting of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, where she served as police chief and resigned. Shields is a self-described reformer who welcomes the federal investigation.
So they've come to look at patterns and practices. I think that's fantastic. That being said, it's really important to me that when they conclude their report in 6 or 9 months, we have things on track and can stand behind the work that we're doing.
But some say the tension and distrust has long existed, fueled by decades of racism and segregation. This is the 9th Street Divide. There's no signage marking it, but it's known to local residents as a physical and economic separation of West Louisville, a mostly black community, from the rest of the city, a symbolic racial divide. In Louisville, black residents represent 21% of the population, but were involved in around 50% of the police use of force incidents.
It appears you're going to have to reconcile the Breonna Taylor death. The justice system declined to prosecute anyone directly in her killing. How do you move past that?
Breonna Taylor's death is sickening. I sincerely hope that the FBI in their investigation might close some of the gap here. I have very real concerns about how the warrant was drawn up, because I do think it's a miscarriage of justice if you can be in your residence shot and killed by law enforcement and no one's held accountable for it.
Tamika Palmer, Breonna Taylor's mom, is still fighting for accountability. None of the 3 officers involved was charged in Taylor's death, the only indictment for shots that went into a neighbor's wall. At the Speed Art Museum, Promise, Witness, Remembrance reflects on the life of Taylor and the movement that followed. Palmer helped create the exhibit.
What do you love about this portrait?
Everything.
Do you hope that maybe in some way Breonna's death and police reforms here could be a model?
Definitely. I think that the way that this thing has played out in front of the world, people will definitely have to use this situation to make things better everywhere.
Chief Shields is paving a path forward.
This police department has an extremely strong culture and positive culture. There are multiple practices that are broken. There are good people here. We have absolutely room for improvement. We have to do things differently. I'm going to get them there.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.